Hello. Today I watched a video of a friend of mine, Chua, and you can actually check him out. Basically, in his video, he said the feeling of being left out. That's the premise of the video, pero it inspired me in a different way. So, it's actually hard ngayon to make videos, records, because it's a different season. Adulting is a very hard thing, and even though you have time to do stuff, to do record, to do video, ang hirap gumawa. Ang dami mong iniisip, and it's not like the old times no students ka, where you have all the time in the world to do stuff. Your friends have time to do stuff. Ngayon, working na rin lahat ng friends mo, and it's really hard. But anyway, the video inspired me to just do it. Just do stuff. And here I am. I figured I'll continue doing vlogs, especially studio vlogs, where I started with the studio tour. So, looking at that video, some commented asking about the plugins that I use. So, I figured that would be the topic for tonight. So, I'd like to share the plugins that I use and the reasons behind them. I'm a person that uses the default plugins in my DAW. So, I'm not someone that looks for plugins, you know, those people who hunt, this should be the plugins that I use, this is the plugins that my idols use. I'm a person that uses what's in front of me. So most of the plugins that I use are from Studio One. On my previous video on the studio tour, I'm using the Studio One 2, but now I'm using the Studio One 5, which came free with this. So it's a great tool that you can use, and it's free. So I'm using Studio One 5, not much of a difference in terms of plugins, though may mga plugins na nawala, pero you can compensate with that. So to start, I'll share first the things that I really use, I really need, things that we can't live without. First and foremost, of course, compressor. Just a basic compressor, no bells and whistles, no saturation or anything, just a compressor. Then, of course, EQ, tone shaping, no bells and whistles also. Then I have the limiter. The limiter usually I use for the master bus. Minsan kasi may tendency tayo na kapag hindi natin check yung master bus, ang hina ng track natin. So ginagamit ko to limiter first and foremost to check kung nasan yung levels ko. Pangalawa, to prevent the track from clipping. Usually yung limiter ko sinaset ko to 0 dB, so nothing comes out beyond 0 dB. So it's a great tool to use to check, and of course to maximize the volume staging of your track. Ganong word. Next is the expander. Technically, expander is like a reverse compressor. I use it more during drum recordings. It's basically a noise gate, but not so much of a noise gate. Noise gate kasi is kapag nawala ng signal on that specific threshold, nawawala siya. But the expander, I think, in my understanding, it compresses the sound when it doesn't hit the threshold. So, basta ang function niya sa akin is, example, sa snare mic, you need to cut out the bleeds, or sa tom, actually sa tom ko siya mas ginagamit. Ginagawa niya, kapag walang ginagawa yung instrument, medyo naka-off lang siya. Pero pag tumama na, goes out. So, that's the expander. Ewan ko kung anong tawag niya sa ibang DAW. Next is the Mixverb. Technically, Mixverb is a basic reverb plugin. So you have the delay, the room size, the damp, then the width and volume. So may gate siya pero hindi ko ginagamit yan. Next is the tuner. Of course, if you're using string instruments, you gotta have a tuner. Next is the Multiband Dynamics. Well, it's not included in the Studio One 5, pero before, I used the Multiband Dynamics as a bass tamer and a de-esser. In a fast explanation, Multiband Dynamics is a compressor but is assigned to a certain frequency. So example, ako, when I use a multiband as de-esser, siniset ko siya ng 4K. So anything 4K above, yun lang yung kinokompress na sound. So pag na-reach yung threshold dun sa frequency na yun, pag lumalagpas, kinakat niya. So ang pangit kasi pag walang de-esser, lalo na pag kinompress mo siya, and example, yung singer mo may braces or mataas yung sibilance niya, matadong matalas pakinggan. Next, the room reverb. So the room reverb is the more complicated version of the Mixverb. So the room reverb, mas marami na siyang controls like dimensions, trail delay, and etc. So ginagamit ko siya usually for effects na. So example, I need vocals to have this very long reverb, very saturated, very wet. Ito yung ginagamit ko. And that's pretty much yung ginagamit ko na standard. So yung ibang plugins naman na hindi naman mandatory pero ginagamit ko is, example, the chorus. Chorus is ginagamit ko sa vocals. So usually sa vocal bus ko siya nilalagay. Ang ginagawa niya is it doubles the sound, making it sound more processed in a way. Next is the Binaural Pan. I think that's called binaural. Correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, ginagawa ng binaural pan is it widens a stereo track. You can widen it. Usually 200% sinasagad ko siya. Or you can narrow it down. Next is the Ampire. Well, yung Ampire ngayon hindi ko na ginagamit. Pero before, my Ampire is the go-to amp simulator na ginagamit ko. Madali siyang gamitin, nandun lahat ng effects na kailangan ko, walang masyadong excess. Yun na yun. Pero ngayon hindi ko na siya ginagamit kasi yung included na Ampire dito sa Studio One 5 ko is isang amp lang. Pwede naman gamitin, pero hindi na siya ginagamit ngayon. Next is the analog delay. Of course, from the word itself, it's a delay pedal, or sorry, it's a delay plugin. I use it usually as a send. So example, kailangan ko ng delay sa vocals ko. So isi-send, gawin ko siyang send for effects. Tapos, yun yung ginagamit ko. Then lastly, recently ko lang din natutunang gamitin is the Redlight Distortion. So the Redlight Distortion is basically a distortion plugin. If you want to add grit, if you want to add this certain character sa track mo, ito yung ginagamit ko. So I'll have the example in yan, yung tunog na yan, that is from the Redlight Distortion. Yun yung lahat ng ginagamit kong plugins from the software na kasama na mismo. So, meron pang marami pa yan, pero hindi ko lahat ginagamit. Like, the example, the channel strip. Maganda siya, pero I find it confusing and mas hassle gamitin. But anyway, moving on dun sa mga third-party plugins ko, ito yung mga kinuha ko lang. And most of these are free. So, hanapin nyo na lang sa Google. So, first and foremost, from IKEA Multimedia Production, the Amplitube 4. Pero ngayon, nagamit ko na yung 5 because I saw a friend of mine, si Ace. Follow nyo na lang siya. Ayan, ito siya.
Talaga nagagamit. Bihira lang. Pero ito yung tunog niya.
Ang maganda sa Amplitube 5, may additional 3 na amp siya compared sa dati or sa luma na 4 lang. So it's now 7. And meron na rin siyang ibang additional effects na ginagamit. So, mas maganda na siya ngayon. And it's free. So, download nyo na lang. What I love about these plugins is you have so much options kahit hindi mo gamit lahat. So, ang maganda rin doon is when you have limited amps, you learn to mix. You learn to tune it the way you want. So, that really helped me in understanding amps and overdrives and delays and preamps. Okay, next is Melodyne. Okay, so this is a trade secret, but Melodyne is basically audio editor in a way that it can edit pitch, timing, gain, basically those three. One thing that you should know in editing is ang vocals, kinokorek pa yan. Term namin, tinotono. Even if the artist or the singer did a very good job, tinotono pa rin yan to fine-tune the minor subtleties sa pitch or even sa gain. So, hindi siya auto-tune kasi ang auto-tune from the word itself, auto. Pero, you do it manually. So, ako ginagamit ko to, example, kailangan ko ng harmonizer effect. Next is from GVST. I have 2 plugins from GVST. GSnap, then GMulti. Technically, GSnap is an auto-tune effect. Ginagamit ko siya pang check ng pitch. Ginagamit ko siya pag nagmamadali akong mag-correct ng vocals. So, usually, pag magaling na yung singer, okay naman yung track niya, kabit, tapos. So, it's a really good tool to use for vocals. And also, pang check. Ang track, nilagay mo sa auto-tune, yung term ko, inaaway. Inaaway niya yung track kapag mali yung pitch. So, it tells me where a certain pitch is wrong or sharp ba siya or flat. Hey! Next also is the GMulti. So, GMulti, ito na ngayon yung pamalit ko sa Multiband Dynamics. Kasi, yun nga, hindi siya free from the Studio 5. Same principle, ginagamit ko siya for de-esser and bass tamer. Next, I have Softube, saturation knob. So, I'm a fan of saturated sounds. I think nakuha ko siya nung nag-OJT ako noon. Sa school, sa studio. Wala na yung studio na yun ngayon. Pero the producer there uses this universal audio tube preamp. I always love that sound. Hindi siya nagtutunog digital. Very warm. May grit siya. For me, hindi lahat gusto yon, pero ako personally, I'm a sucker for that. Almost all, actually hindi almost lahat ng record ko hindi mawawala yan. Next is from Klanghelm. I have 3 plugins here. Basically, yung dalawa, yung IVG1 I2 and DC1A3 is both saturation saturation plugins. So, as I said kanina, I'm a fan of saturated sound. Maganda dito, meron din siyang compressor na, meron din siyang EQ. Gustong-gusto ko is meron siyang dual mono function. It compresses both channels in stereo independently. Ang ganda niya pang balance out if hindi balance. Example, overhead mic ko na stereo. Pag hindi siya balance, masyadong malakas yung kanan. Pwede ko siyang gamitin to balance it out a bit. Then the MJUCJr, which is basically an analog compressor simulator. So what I love about this, to be honest, is the interface. I love looking at it very much. For me, it's very easy to use. You just have the compression knob sa gilid, the attack, fast, slow, or automatic, then the gain sa gilid. Very easy to use. Tapos nakikita mo na yung knob. It tells you how much reduction you're giving to the track. Then next is the iZotope vinyl. I'm a fan of vintage sounds. Though me myself, hindi ako nakikinig mo masyadong lumang songs, but I'm a fan of the sound. I have the latest record and you can hear this plug-in. Next is the Lexicon MPXiNative Reverb. So this came with the interface, and what I love about this is Lexicon is very famous for the reverbs, and itong reverb na to, though I think it's a free sample, hindi siya full. Hindi mo na-edit yung hindi mo na-edit yung parameters pero you have these presets na napakaganda, and usually I use it for send. Kasi napakaganda niyang room sound. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So, ako in my mixing, I always tend to be organic. Kapag nagre-record ako or nagmi-mix ako, gusto ko yung tunog niya almost like you're in the room, or almost like you're watching on the venue, or ikaw mismo yung musician. So, I'm a fan of that. Hindi ako masyado sa techno or sa mga bago ngayon na pop. So, I really like the acoustic sound. Kaya, yung plugins ko naka-tailor doon. Hindi ka masyado makakita dito like flanger or phaser. Hindi ko ginagamit yun kasi ang mixing ko usually is organic. I love physical instruments. I love how they react to the room. So, I think plugins should correspond to how you mix, what's your taste, and there's nothing wrong with looking for plugins. But for me, work with what you have because it creates your flexibility and creativity, and it lets you master it more. Like for me, ako example, I've been using my compressor for a long time now, pero ngayon ko lang natutunan gumamit ng sidechain. It's very effective. So that's all. Stay tuned for the next. I guess I'll share. May nag-comment din dun sa studio vlog, recording and mixing process. So I guess that would be the next. I also share some stuff about guitars because I've been studying a lot of guitar stuff. Not guitar playing, I mean, but guitar stuff. And I'd like to share that. So keep safe, everyone, and have a nice day.